Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Manish Jain, and you are watching Electric Avenue. This is episode 1. Happy New Year, happy 2023 to everyone. And as I mentioned in the previous video, which was what I'm calling a beta version, this is all going to be about electric cars in the India context. So, as I mentioned, we're going to really break it down into 5 areas. We're going to basically this month talk about the monthly sales figures for EVs. We'll talk about the new launches that happened in December. We'll talk about any notable news around EVs. Then we're going to do a deep dive today into what I'm calling the skateboard architecture. And fifth is we're going to talk about a car I recently saw, the EQS 580. So those are the 5 things we're going to talk about. So let's just jump into it. All right, so as you can see here, we're going to talk about the monthly EV sales figures. So let's just kind of zoom in. So now one of the things I'm going to tell you is I've had a very tough time in getting consistent monthly data from either the manufacturers or from the Vahan website or from FADA. So I've decided that if I don't have a data point, I'm just not going to put it in my sheet here, as you can see. So if you look at the December 2023 figures, December 2022 figures, as expected, the leader is Tata Motors, which is, of course, the Nexon EV that's leading it at around 3,800 units. Then you've got MG Motors with their ZS EV. I couldn't get any data for M&M, Mahindra. Kia, this is mainly the Kia EV6, which is apparently all over the place now. I've seen at least 2 or 3 recently in the last 3-4 days. Next on the list is Hyundai, and this is really their Kona and their Ioniq 5, which we will talk about a little bit later, but this is really from only the Kona numbers. BYD, this is probably a combination of their minivan and the one that they just launched, the Atto 3 or Atto 3. And that's kind of where we are. And Mercedes-Benz at 31 and BMW 29 and Volvo at 23. I couldn't get data for Audi, Porsche, and Jaguar. Like I said, I'm really hoping in the next month or so I can get consistent data so I can kind of present it to you in a timely manner and, provide the entire set of data for the four-wheel market in India. So those are the monthly sales figures. Second area we're going to talk about today is around the recent EV launches. So now I am recording this in mid-January, which means the Auto Expo is already happening in Delhi, and there's a ton of EVs that have been released, and I will get to that next month. But this is a wrap-up of what was released and talked about in December. So the dates I've got, there are really 4 notable launches. December 2nd, the Mercedes EQB was launched. December 20th was the Hyundai Ioniq 5. On December 21st, the Tata Tiago EV. Although I don't think it was released that day, but all of the embargoes were lifted and everyone had their video on YouTube talking about the Tiago EV. And then also on the same day, December 21st, at a global level, the Hyundai Kona was launched. Now, I said that I would only talk about the EVs that are launched in India, but the Kona is already here, and I'm pretty sure this revised, updated version will also hit India, and it looks amazing. So let's get to it. So the first one here you can see is the EQB 4MATIC. This is on road around 78 lakhs. So this puts it squarely in the region of the Kia EV6 and the BMW i4. So all 3 are around similar price range. It's a 7-seater, although they say it's a 7-seater, but it is really tight. This is a very small car. This is smaller than a C-Class Benz, hence the B. So you can imagine it's not a very big car, but they mention it as a 7-seater. It's got a 66.5 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's got 225 brake horsepower and about a little under 400 newton meters of torque. And this model will be made in Mexico and sent over here to India. Now, in one of their marketing materials, they talked a little bit about the difference between AC charging and DC charging. And I thought it was kind of interesting, so I thought I'd bring it up here. So as you can see on the left-hand side, you've got your AC charging, connected to a typical wall box, and you're looking at around 10 to 100% in a little over 6 hours. And if you do DC fast charging at 100 kilowatts, you can get from 10% to 80% in 32 minutes. So obviously big difference, but I thought this graphic was really nice, kind of showing the difference between AC and DC fast charging. The second launch is the Hyundai Ioniq 5. This was launched actually in Bombay at the Gateway of India. I happened to drive by the Gateway of India when it was being launched, but obviously, I'm just a schlep, so I wasn't invited to the event. This is what it looks like, and it's the typical Ioniq 5 that's been released all over the world. But it does look like a stunner, and it is based on the same platform as the Kia EV6, which is the eGMP platform, which we're going to talk about a little bit later when I talk about the skateboard architecture. The pricing is actually announced. It was announced just about a day ago. So I will talk about it. It was priced at 45 lakhs, which is an amazing price, but that's only for the first 500 units, and it's still to be determined what it's going to be after the 500 units are sold. But it is definitely going to be a hot seller in the market. So as I said, it shares the same platform as the EV6. Now the difference between the EV6 and this Ioniq 5 is the Ioniq 5 is actually an assembled kit, and whereas the EV6 is a complete, basically imported model. So the EV6, all EV6s are manufactured in South Korea. So they put that on a boat to India and they sell it straight off, and hence, the import duties are stupidly expensive on the Kia EV6. The third one was the Tata Tiago EV. As I mentioned, this is already out there, but I believe the embargoes were lifted, and hence you can see all the reviews were coming in online onto YouTube. So the top end spec is going to be around 12.5 lakhs. It's a hatchback. It's got a 24-hour kilowatt battery pack, so kind of small. The ARAI range, I'm not even going to talk about because I find these ranges are just ridiculously inaccurate and stupid. So I'm going to just kind of refrain from talking about those numbers because really this is a perfect example of no pun intended, but your mileage will vary. This has got a 75 horsepower engine, or should I say electric motor, and about 114 Newton meters of torque. So obviously not a super fast car, but this is the third in the Tata portfolio of cars. They've got the Nexon EV, which was the first, and then the second one was the Tigor EV. And the difference, and this is the Tiago EV, but one of the things you'll notice is they've got a new nomenclature where they are now going to call all of their cars .EV. So I'm assuming when they kind of do a rebranding for the Nexon, it'll be known as the Nexon .EV, and the Tigor will be known as the Tigor.EV, and hence even the Tiago.EV. So that's kind of the new thing that they're planning on doing with Tatas. And like I said, last but not least, as far as launches in December, is the Hyundai Kona. And this looks just amazing. I love that front strip LED light in the front, really nicely done. Even the back has got a very simplistic style, very nicely done. And, I really feel that this is going to look amazing on the road. And I'm not sure what the guys at Hyundai and Kia are doing, but all of their cars lately are just out of this park. They just hit it out of the ballpark, whether it's the Ioniq 5, the Ioniq 6, the Kia EV6, just a whole plethora of cars that they've been designing lately are just amazing. So those are the new launches for December. All right, next up is EV news. Honestly, it's December. It's pretty slow news. So the only thing that really kind of came up on my radar beside the new launches was Amitabh Kant from the Indian government had a tweet at the end of December basically saying that EV sales touched the 1 million mark in 2022, which is an amazing record. And I think it only shows that, the whole mobility platforms of, cars, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, all of that is definitely moving forward. And I think people are jumping on the EV bandwagon, and I think it's a great thing. And I think this tweet just kind of encapsulates what has happened over 2022. And I'm pretty sure for 2023 is going to be even bigger as far as sales are concerned, because now people are really, really kind of excited about it. And there are, based on what I saw during the Auto Expo, there are a lot of new car launches that I will talk about next month, and that will contribute to the sales only going up more and more for EVs in India. All right, we are now at the fourth part of the video, and that is what I'm actually most interested in doing these videos, and that is what I'm calling the deep dive. So today we're going to talk about, you might commonly refer to it or hear about it when they talk about EV vehicles, they talk about the skateboard architecture. Now the question is, what in the hell does that even mean? So this is an example of a chassis. You can see the batteries are on the bottom, and then you've got four wheels. But the question is, first of all, what is a modular architecture? What is the platform? What does that all mean? So it's something that car manufacturers have been doing probably since the 60s and 70s, is they have a common chassis and they share it with multiple models of cars. This way they can kind of get scalability, they reduce the expenses, the cost, and it just makes it easier for them to kind of roll out new models because it's based on an existing chassis. And so Tesla kind of picked that up, and when they rolled out their cars, they called it the Tesla Skateboard because it kind of looks like a skateboard. And after that, everyone has now kind of referred to these as skateboards. Volkswagen has it, Hyundai has it. All of the manufacturers in the EV space, all of them are moving towards, a platform architecture based on what they call the skateboard architecture. So if you look at Mercedes, Audi, they've got something called the MEB Audi platform. And this is actually, MEB is actually shared between the entire Volkswagen group. Volkswagen, comprises of several brands such as Bugatti, Porsche, Audi, Volkswagen, and quite a few other brands. So the MEB platform for Volkswagen works with all of the other car platforms within the company. And you can see here they've got a slide that talks about a 30% cost reduction by using a platform. And like I said, it looks, why they call it a skateboard, because it kind of looks somewhat similar to a skateboard. It's low to the ground, it's flat, and then it's got four wheels. And it's not just, the European car makers in foreign car makers. It's also in India. They use a platform architecture. So the Nexon EV is actually built on the Tata X1 platform. Unfortunately, that was debuted in 1998, which means it's not a ICE. It's not just a pure EV platform. It's actually built on an ICE platform, so internal combustion engine platform. So the problem is when you take an internal combustion engine platform and try to make it for an EV, you have to kind of give up a lot of things, and it may not truly work out. So an example is that center tunnel, and you get that hump in the back seat. That's because you need, you need the axle to go through it, and they haven't thought through where the battery pack sits, all of that. So that's an issue when you use an ICE platform for an EV. But Tata has used it because it's obviously much easier to go to market very quickly. I'm assuming at some point they will have a completely new platform strictly for EVs, because now they see that it does make sense to have an EV platform. So here again, this is the Mahindra EV that they talked about that they're going to launch, and it's the MEB platform. So Mahindra is calling their platform the InGlow platform, which is unfortunate. I think they should really have gone with IndiGlow, India Global, but I'm sure there must have been some trademark regulations around calling it Indigo. So they're calling it the InGlow platform, but it's actually based on Volkswagen's MEB platform. And here you can see a list of cars that are using the MEB platform right now. So there's a whole bunch of them. You can see there's almost over 10 models that are using the MEB platform for the EV space. So obviously it makes sense to, share parts where you can, because all of these are part of the same company. Here we have the last one I'm going to talk about, and this is from the Hyundai Motor Group, and this is the eGMB platform, the Electric Global Modular Platform. And this is what is being used today in the Kia EV6, in the Hyundai Ioniq 5, both of these that will be available in India, and of course anything else that gets released in India. So if you take a look at it, this is a perfect example of a graph that they talk about where in 2021, they have 8 models that are going to be using the eGMB platform. And moving forward, they're going to have over 12 plus models using the eGMP platform. Now, one of the interesting things about the eGMP platform that I'm going to talk about in the next video is the eGMP platform is one of the newer platforms in technology because it uses something called an 800 volt architecture versus typically what you see on the road, which is a 400 volt architecture. So all of the Teslas you see on the road and most EVs are built on a 400 volt architecture. And I'll get into the specifics of that in the next video, but it just shows you that all of these manufacturers are just innovating like crazy, and that's what's great about the EV space is I can just see this getting better and better and better. Battery technology getting better, speeds getting better. Charge times coming down. They'll be much faster. I would imagine at some point you'll be able to, pull up into a charge station and fill up your entire battery pack in just minutes. I'm not even minutes, but probably seconds, probably under 120 seconds. It's all possible because that's the beauty of technology is the innovations just happen much faster and faster and faster. So that is a real quick deep dive into what is a skateboard architecture. So when you hear skateboard architecture next time, you can pretty much 100% know that it's talking about an EV platform, and now you know the basics of where it came from. All right, we're in the home stretch. So the last section I'm going to talk about is car spotting. So I just recently saw the new Mercedes EQS 580 on the road, and here are some pictures. Just looks like a stunner. This is S-Class. So as you can see in this picture, there is the new S-Class behind it, and this is the EQS, which is the S-Class version for the EV sector. And some of the stats are, it's got 107.8 kilowatt hour battery pack, so it's huge, 750 power stroke, and over 1,000 Newton meters of torque. So this baby is fast, and as you can see, 0 to 100 in 3.4 seconds. And of course, because it's fast and it's got a big battery pack, it's also as expensive as hell. This thing sits at around 1.6 crore on the road, but the presence of it looks amazing. Here's from the back, you can see it just looks really nice. Like I said, I've seen a couple of these now on the road, and I got to tell you, it's got a great presence. The front looks really interesting. And of course, you've got the typical Nimbu Mirchi in the front for, warding off, and it's all green, so that's good to ward off bad spirits. Sadly, I also saw this EQS 580, and as you can see, this one is in a very different state. So this one apparently was a press car that was being driven by someone and got into an accident on the Bandra Worli Sea Link here in Bombay, and obviously completely decimated the front. Now, of course, people are like, hey, it doesn't have an engine, so that's good. Not much damage in the front, but I do believe the minute you puncture the battery pack or anything happens to it, it becomes pretty tough. You have to kind of write it off, I would assume. So I'm not sure what's happening with this car, but as you can see, even the door handles are popped out. I'm sure all the electricals are completely gone to hell in this thing. But let's go back to a more pleasant image of the EQS. Here we go. So yeah, that's the EQS 580. I'm assuming, like I said, the EQB was recently launched as well. And so I would imagine more and more of the Mercedes-Benz cars will be coming in EV fashion. I'm assuming the EQE will be coming very soon. And then, of course, there is an AMG version of this EQS, which is also quite nice. I saw recently in a matte finish. But that's it. So thanks, everyone, for watching the very first episode of Electric Avenue for 2023. And like I said, I hope to do this every month. If you've got any questions or comments, please let me know. And we'll hope to make this show better and better every month. Anyways, take care. Till next time, have a great day.
We're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue.